Hello, good evening, and welcome back. As the Charlie Hebdo incident comes around again, with Samuel Paty being beheaded for showing a cartoon of the Prophet Muhammad from Charlie Hebdo in his classroom, and then following over with the protests around France from the French citizens saying, hey, Macron, you've got to do something to enable us to keep our French values. He did, of course, come out and say, well, yes, this is the value of France, and we will keep our freedom of expression. That did not sit very well with the Islamic world and Erdogan of Turkey as well, of course, leading to boycotts and then more attacks on the defence of free speech and on the defence of blasphemy as well, as we've seen today with several attacks on French citizens, with the main one, of course, being the Tunisian migrant, the Islamist terrorist, who was 21, who beheaded a woman and killed 2 more Catholics in Nice church rampage after Al-Quaeda press release called for jihad over Hebdo cartoons. And it's nice that the Daily Mail here is saying that it is an Islamist terrorist, given that a lot of the sites, including the BBC and Sky earlier, were saying, well, there was a man saying God is greatest in Arabic, and as of yet his motives are unknown. It's like, surely if you're shouting Allahu Akbar, that is your manifesto, that is your playbook right there straight away. So, how this unfolds? Well, Brahim Oussaoui, no apologies for that, 21, attacked worshippers, Christians, with a 12-inch blade in the Notre Dame Basilica in Nice. Tunisian migrant beheaded 1 woman and killed 2 other people during the bloody church rampage. He shouted Allahu Akbar during the attack and was shot 14 times by armed police before he was taken to hospital. He was carrying a copy of the Quran on him during the attack, France's anti-terror prosecutor said. The migrant entered Europe via Italian island of Lampedusa on September 20th and arrived in Paris on October 9th. Attack comes after Emmanuel Macron sparked fury by defending cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad. And you've even got tweets out from India saying, we Indians stand with you, Macron, and calling him the Lion of France, which is definitely not something you would have expected even a year ago. But there has been condemnation of this attack from around the world, including from Pakistan, which was a bit of a surprise, but nonetheless, good on them, and long may it continue. However, the main issue here is the lack of assimilation. Put simply, put bluntly, it always will be the case. If you're going to allow different religions into your country, if you're going to allow different ideologies, then you have to pick some state-sanctioned way of which it is okay to be practiced. As in, fundamentalist Islam is not acceptable and it is not congruent with Western values in any way whatsoever. Therefore, you have to reinterpret the Quran, which is the nice way of saying change it and cherry pick things in order to better suit Western values and say, well, hey, you want a caliphate? Here's your caliph. It's Queen Elizabeth II. Not sure if she'd be too happy with that though. And these are the rules, or your religion now. If you wish to follow Islam within England, then this is the Mosque of England, if you will, instead of the Church of England. And this is how the religion will work. Because otherwise, you're going to keep getting this, as we will scroll on just to compare this to the other ones which have been happening recently, following on from the Samuel Paty beheading, because it was just one individual who showed his classroom that cartoon, and in response it's now become an international sensation, with various groups declaring war on France as if they hadn't already, with places, with organisations like Al-Quaeda that they have before. And what's the result been? Well, it's been an attack on innocent French civilians. And as we see here with all the photos, the response from France has been, well, then you need armed guards everywhere, as in heavily armed police officers and even special forces from the military in order to keep places defended. Because the attacks can come from anywhere. They are going to be in more built-up areas, of course, and they're coming out from Tunisia, as you can see here, the protesters over there to say, well, we're not going to support France at all. And then you've got Erdogan saying, you've got the ex-Malaysian Prime Minister, the 95-year-old, saying, well, yeah, France deserves millions of people dead for their blasphemy, especially if you consider what they've done in the past. And you're thinking, well, I don't think you want to bring up past transgressions if you're going to be mentioning Islam. Are you not aware of what Islam has done in the past? But they've got, they say, terror in France over 5 years, with the main one, of course, being Bastille Day, July 14th, 2016, killing 86 people. But even today, then you've got the French consulate in Saudi Arabia, where a man was stabbed there, and then you've got in Avignon, where there was a gunman also shouting Allahu Akbar. Police came, they tasered him, did nothing, and therefore they shot him with live ammunition and killed him, and very rightly too, as well. And this is going to keep happening until, of course, you address the root cause of the problem and the causes, instead of just trying to address the symptoms. However, now, the latest news coming out of France is that Macron has decided to order a second national lockdown, apparently because of COVID, but you've got to think that maybe he's thinking, seeing as we put France onto the highest terror level again, just a few years after doing it last time, that it's also in order to try and stop these attacks, as then you've got people being stopped for carrying long knives onto trains as well, also today, for example. That these things are happening all the time, and of course now they're just being accumulated for what had happened today because of the main terror attack that happened in Nice. So he's decided to go for a lockdown. That is it. Bearing in mind that they say that it's kind of inevitable and the second wave is going to be worse than the first. So, okay, does that mean then once the second lockdown ends, you're going to get a third wave and you're going to need to do another lockdown, because that is not a way of which you're going to be able to have a functioning country? Whereas if you look at Sweden's death rate, for example, they did have a spike. One spike. And it's dropped down. Cases, yes, they've got more cases than ever in Sweden, but not deaths. And that's what matters, because the more people you test, the more people you're going to get a positive result from. Even if it's a false positive. If you change your testing from 100 to 100,000, and your false positive is 1%, then, and you're just measuring sheer numbers instead of compared to the amount you tested, then of course you're going to see the number of cases increase dramatically. And that is essentially what is happening. And does it matter if it's not deadly? Not at all. In that case, why are we putting so much effort into it? And do we need lockdowns if in the long run they don't change anything? No, we don't. But that's what they've decided on. So that's it for now. So as always, let me know what you guys think down below. Always intrigued to hear what you guys have to say. Do like, share, comment, subscribe. All that good stuff really helps out with the YouTube algorithm. And I'm intrigued to know what your view is of having the equivalent of a Mosque of England to say, if you do wish to practice Islam, we have to change it radically in order for it to be acceptable in the UK. And so it essentially would not really be Islam, but you're not going to allow any other forms of Islam in order to try and make it an actual peaceful religion. Either way, let me know down below. Always intrigued to hear what you have to say. And as always, until next time, have a good one.